Hi and welcome to Doctors. Were there any initial challenges being a woman in the field of surgery? How do you think being a woman changes anything?
The first challenge which I faced was being taken seriously. Okay, so if I would have put the ticket to see me, I would have made money out of it. People used to peep into the department and see, oh, she's the maxillofacial surgeon. A female has joined.
What are the unique strengths that we as women, according to you, bring to the field of medicine?
Which was published in one of the leading journals in the US, that somebody being treated by a female doctor has a higher chance and a better prognosis of survival, especially when it comes to a critical medical condition.
What message do you have for the young women who are now entering into the field of medicine and dentistry?
I would say that please improve your skill. Okay, always keep learning. You should build your confidence, networking. All these are very, very important aspects.
So I feel the worst part of being a doctor is we are never taught communication skills and finance or management in our curriculum. That is not there.
I was lucky enough to know a little bit of finances even from my school days, because my mother, who was a very powerful advocate of financial independence, insisted that I learn the ropes.
Destiny brought us all together today.
Yeah.
Hi and welcome to Doctors. I am your host today, Dr. Mansa, Chief Dental Surgeon and founder of Srishti Dental. And today we are diving into a very powerful conversation about women breaking barriers in the world of dentistry as well as surgery. Joining me today are two inspiring doctors, a leading oral and maxillofacial surgeon, Dr. Sukhwinder Bindra.
Good morning.
And a passionate pediatric dentist, Dr. Gayatri Moge.
Good morning.
Who will be sharing their journeys, their thoughts on women empowerment, mental health, and what it truly takes for women to thrive and lead in the medical world. Get ready for an honest, inspiring, and action-packed conversation. Let's get started and welcome to Doctors.
Thank you.
Let us just start our conversation. So, the first thing I wanted to ask you people is, what inspired you to choose your specialization? Did you always wanted to become a doctor, or you have figured this journey, over a period of time?
I actually wanted to become a doctor, Mansa. From childhood, I was very fascinated with the white coat.
Correct.
And to be very honest, I wanted to become an eye surgeon. Okay. So after graduation, when I had to choose the branch for my post-graduation, I chose oral and maxillofacial surgery because this branch bridges the gap between dental and the medical field, right? It is where the dentistry is meeting medicine.
Correct.
So that was one part of it, that you feel like more of like doctor type. And second thing, we deal with the most intricate and emotional part of human being, that is face. So to fulfill my desire of being an eye surgeon was somewhere met by becoming a MaxFac surgeon, where I could repair the orbital fractures and all. So that is how I became an oral and maxillofacial surgeon, and I'm really happy.
Wonderful. What about you, Dr. Gayatri?
So dentistry was a choice, but I wouldn't say pediatric dentistry was really my first choice. I happened to get into it by chance. But since plastic surgery fascinated me quite a bit, I had been observing a plastic and reconstructive surgeon at work right since my second year BDS.
Okay.
And seeing the skill with which they could change tissues was something that endlessly fascinated me. I also realized it is quite intellectually challenging, and I would want to look forward to what I work with every day. So with all this in the background, I happened to come across a congenital disorder called as cleft lip and palate, and view multiple of these surgeries, which later taught me that it needs a lot of dental correction also till these patients can get rehabilitated. So though pediatric dentistry was not on the agenda initially, I happened to get more into surgery, which was something which was my first choice.
And that passion for surgery brings us together, and we are working together for the past 12 to 13 years now.
And I would say it is destiny, because you're changing so many lives.
Absolutely.
So, destiny brought us all together today.
Yeah, definitely.
Were there any initial challenges being a woman in the field of surgery? Do you think being a woman changes anything?
Yeah, initially when I finished my post graduation and joined the field of maxillofacial surgery, which is now also more of a male dominated
Male-dominated,
field,
yeah.
the first challenge which I faced was being taken seriously. Okay, so if I would have put the ticket to see me, I would have made money out of it. People used to peep into the department and see, oh, she's the maxillofacial surgeon, a female has joined. So that was challenge because I was married, had a kid at that time.
Okay.
So people used to have a question mark look on their face. Having married, having a child,
Will she be
how
able
will
to
she
do
manage?
it? Yes.
How will she manage the long hours of working? But yes, yeah, these were the challenges I faced. But gradually during my journey as a MaxFac surgeon, I overcame it with my dedication, passion, and resilience. I just stayed on. I was like, you throw whatever challenges you want to throw, I will overcome it and I will prove my worth.
Wonderful. You, Dr. Gayatri. Usually, women are, they're portrayed that, that is the best field for you, pediatric, be it in the medicine or in dentistry. But then you chose a different field altogether. Even in pediatric dentistry, you have started surgery. So, did you feel any?
Yes, definitely. Initially, when I had finished my postgraduate studies and come back to the city to try and look for work, being taken seriously was the first challenge. Then, secondly, ageism, sexism were a few more challenges that we faced, especially when it came to deciding surgical options. But yes, the only trait that would really help you is resilience, learning how to interact with your medical colleagues, and improving your own knowledge so that you know how your work can contribute towards the success of taking care of a patient as a team.
Correct. Were there any moments where you people doubted your choice, or have you ever faced a bias? I'm sure you must have faced a bias, but were there any moments where you doubted your choice?
Bias, yes, we faced a bit of it, but doubt, I never doubted my choice. I always wanted to do this, and I was like, it's okay, I will do it. So I never had any doubt whether it was long hours, whether it was duty in emergency, casualty posting, or whatever. But I never doubted my choice. Yes, the bias was there, but that also has been overcome in the gradually when I have evolved in my journey as a MaxFac surgeon.
So I would say yes, gender bias is always there, and that is a reality that we have to accept. But for me, the main bias I faced was towards being proved competent. So once that was a barrier that was overcome, and the invisible glass ceiling was cracked when it came to proving your worth, I do not think then there is any bias in the picture now. You are just treated as a competent doctor, not as a male or female.
What are the unique strengths that we as women, according to you, bring to the field of medicine? Do you think there is an advantage?
Yeah, there are advantages. Women are more compassionate, I would say, and women are more calmer. Okay, in comparison to, I'm not demeaning somebody here, but
You're built that
and
way.
we are built that way. And second thing, as a woman, we don many hats. Okay, so multitasking is there always. So whether it is inside the operation theater or outside the operation theater, we become trained to do multitasking and we can manage well. And second thing which I have observed during my interaction with patients, as a female, patients feel that they are heard properly. They feel more comfortable, and they feel that we are more approachable, and they can discuss their points well.
Communication.
Communication becomes better. Yeah, that's what I feel about it.
So I think we bring a unique strength in form of empathy, because trying to understand what a patient is going through makes you a better doctor is what I definitely feel. And being a mother, your perspective towards how a child can be treated also changes. Definitely in myself I have seen a change before I became a mother versus after I became a mother, when you tend to have a lot more patience for different types of child behaviors that you can see. But after a point you also know when discipline is required and how to differentiate between what is actual fear and anxiety or a tantrum.
Correct.
So these are different things which you will learn out of experience, but I would say empathy is paramount.
And one more thing, it is always said that the surgeon should have lady's finger. So the intricacy which is there in the operation theater when you are working on a patient, and Gayatri also told me,
Yes,
few
just
days back
before-
that she has read a study that
Yes, so a very interesting study, in
Interesting,
fact,
yes,
that
yes.
which was published in one of the leading journals in the US, that somebody being treated by a female doctor has a higher chance and a better prognosis of survival, especially when it comes to a critical medical condition. So that is so interesting to see that reverse gender bias. rather,
Exactly.
that
The studies
females
prove
do
it
better.
wrong.
Females do better than males, definitely.
that's very overwhelming and
Oh, I
rewarding.
know.
Thank you.
Has there been any incident which actually changed your outlook as a woman doctor?
Yeah, I can relate to one. When I was doing my post graduation, I came across with a patient who she was riding a bike and she met with an accident. So when she was brought to the department and she had bruises on her face, there was a cut wound which was traveling across the cheek and she has broken her jaw. So after we did the suturing, we just put the stitches on and then we repaired the fracture. After 1 week, 10 days, when she settled down with all the swelling and other things, I was working on a patient. She came running and she said, I want to talk to you. She literally hugged me and she started crying. That was a very overwhelming, and I mean, I can't explain in words how that emotion was, but it was like we are just not stitching the wounds. We are building the confidence. We are building the dignity and the grace we are getting that to the patient. So that was one moment
It goes far
where I
beyond the general
yeah.
treatments that we do.
Yeah.
It is
So
more
it was
about.
very emotional moment for me. Yeah.
I'm sure with cleft clip and palate you would have seen a lot
Definitely.
of such.
So our treatments take a very long time. So
Correct.
for a child to be rehabilitated with the entire dentition and maybe jaw surgeries and artificial teeth to be put in, with the smile recreated, the gratification that you get at the end of maybe a decade long of treatment with tears and smiles together is something that is absolutely heartwarming.
Correct.
Yeah.
Have you ever felt a pressure that as a woman we are expected to do it all? You know, we are.
Yes, Mansa.
You have to be that superwoman. How
Yes,
do
yes.
you navigate through it? I
Yeah.
mean, both in personal and professional lives, where you are expected to, hold it together and do it all. Yes.
Yeah, this is a topic of discussion at every forum. Work-life balance, personal and
It's
professional
endless
life
for that
balance.
Endless, correct. Especially for women.
Yes, we have, I think both of us have been through it. So where society or your immediate family, they demand that as a woman at home, okay, when you are wearing a hat of a mother or a wife or a daughter-in-law, you are supposed to do everything flawlessly there also.
Correct.
And at the same time, when you are on a professional front, you are supposed to give your 100% there. So navigating through it is, when you are a doctor, you are a doctor. Your 100% focus should be there, how you are treating a patient and how you are there as a doctor. And when you are home, you are a mother and a daughter. So balancing out takes a little time. Yes, sometimes we just have to overcome that guilt of not being there in a function or at a place where you were supposed to be, but because your profession demanded it. So that overcoming guilt, yes, it was a challenge, but now everything is settling down, and now the family also has started
To understand.
to understand that yes, this is her part of work, so let her do that. Yeah.
So I would say mom guilt is the first thing that we face.
I was just going to
Which
ask, what
we
about
should
mom guilt?
overcome.
There are a lot of young doctors, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Definitely, but then as children grow up, they also realize that my mother is doing something which is more important than probably attending a small function in their school, for that matter. I do not say with this when it denigrates the importance of what they have in school, but obviously the child understands that attending to a patient who's having a problem right now is more important for my mother rather than coming into my school for something which would be a small meeting. And they also learn how to appreciate what is the kind of work that we do. So yes, it does take some time to try and segregate your personal life from your professional life. It is difficult because patients demand your time, and it does become difficult to say no at a particular
Exactly,
point,
yes.
wherein you need to lay in boundaries, firm boundaries, that your profession of being a doctor does not mean that your personal life is completely taken over by your profession. So this is something that time has taught us, and we've learned to walk that fine line in between with time.
And I think we are teaching our children also,
And
no?
Mansa,
These boundaries and empowerment and
One more thing I would add, I had been lucky that for my younger son, my elder son was always there. So whenever I missed the PTM of the younger one, he always used to go, "It's okay, mom, you go to hospital, I'll take care."
how sweet. What message do you have for the young women who are now entering into the field of medicine and dentistry?
I would say that please improve your skill. Okay? Always keep learning. You should build your confidence, networking. All these are very, very important aspects. There is no substitute for sincerity. There is no substitute for hard work. If you are resilient, you are passionate about your work, I am sure you will succeed for sure.
So I would say that when you expect gender parity, then we should learn to do everything as much as the opposite gender would do, and if that means giving your everything, you should be prepared for it.
Okay.
At that point, you should never say that I am a woman and this would probably
Play the
prevent me
card.
from doing the work the way it should be, and never play a woman card at that point in time.
Correct.
You're a doctor, and it is your competence which should actually speak for itself. It is not an easy path. You need to be very, very sincere, hardworking, committed, as well as resilient to get there.
I would say that because as in surgery especially, when we are supposed to attend the emergency calls, we are on the night duties, looking after casualty also. So at that time, it should not be like, I am a mother, so I can't go and do this.
Yeah.
So if you expect that, you deliver that also.
Correct. How important is financial independence for women?
I will leave this to Gayatri because she
As-
taught me how to become it.
So I feel the worst part of being a doctor is we are never taught communication skills and finance
In
or
our
management in our curriculum. That is
Curriculum, yeah.
not there. So what message would you give, Dr. Gayatri?
So I was lucky enough to know a little bit of finances even from my school days, because my mother, who was a very powerful advocate of financial independence, insisted that I learn the ropes. And it is always good to know how to manage your money.
Correct.
In fact, among females, it is rather more common to have your father, brother, or husband manage your money rather than you do it
You
yourself.
do it yourself.
But unfortunately, medical school, dental school for that matter, teaches us about the subject, but not about the business of the subject.
Exactly.
So that is one aspect which you need to pick up early on. But also remember that it is not only money that matters all the time. Whatever money you get, managing it well, making sure it grows rather than making it sit idle, is something that you have to learn as a skill. And this sort of financial independence that you get, where you can make your own decisions, whatever, if you need to purchase something, maybe stocks or mutual funds or commodities or anything of this sort, you should be well equipped to handle all these things. Reading Financial Times and Economic Times is just as important as reading your medical and dental textbooks after a point in time.
Correct.
And this is something, if we do this, our children also will learn this.
And that's what I have been learning from Gayatri.
From her.
yeah, because I was not into financial management. Yeah.
But I think financial freedom gives you a lot of confidence also.
Yes,
no
for
matter how supportive your spouse is or how supportive your parents are, I feel financial freedom gives you some form of authority and confidence, which is very important.
I would say maybe it's not financial freedom at this age for all of us, it is rather financial independence.
Independence, correct.
Financial freedom comes at a point wherein once you retire, you still have the freedom to live your life the way you want to and have enough money to take care of your needs even
yes.
post retirement. So a message that I would want to give to all the young doctors and dentists coming out would be that manage your money well, manage it very wisely, and plan your retirement since the first day of your work.
Yes.
Something which we have learned along the way.
Yeah. I'm still learning.
What skills or habits have helped you grow as a profession, as a professional?
So I'll take this first. The ability to always say, I do not know this, please teach me. I don't think I've ever felt embarrassed about being maybe a few years more experienced than other people, being a little more senior. I think I'm at a mid-level in the profession. but I've never ever felt embarrassed to say I do not know, please teach me. And we've always stood beside surgeons who operate, watch other professionals work, and there are so many small things that you can pick up from a skilled surgeon operating that it really helps you in your profession. So that is one thing that has really helped me scale up my quality of work.
I think this is a very important point Gayatri has put
Yeah.
across, because that is what the kids these days should know. It is okay to not know and ask for help and learn it along the way. Learning is a continuous process. Just because you have done some course or something doesn't mean that you know it all.
Yes.
It's very important, yes.
Yes. Dedication, punctuality, being organized. Okay. So when I would like to say, convey this message to the younger generation, be organized. Please, record keeping is one thing which is very, very important. And I have seen, when I see the publications from abroad and when I see publications from India, so I think we are lacking in record keeping somewhere. So record keeping, maintaining your record pre, post, during surgery, then follow-ups, and always keep updating yourself.
Correct.
Whatever new is coming in the market, how you can upgrade your skill. Please keep improving your skill. You want to become a better version of yourself day by day. It is not competing with somebody who's like, somebody is doing this, so I want to do this. No. You do this, no problem, but you should upgrade your skill every time. Learning should never stop, and you should be dedicated to it. Okay. So I have been through that journey where the senior surgeon used to tell me 7 o'clock you need to report. 6:45 to 6:50 we used to be there to look after. Before the surgeon walks in, we should be prepared for everything, be it instruments, be it taking care of the patient, investigations, everything. So this is how you should work.
Okay.
You should have a plan in mind. Plan A, if something goes wrong, what is plan B? So it should be there. So that is what record keeping, having a plan in mind, dedication, being organized is very important.
Yeah, I would just like to reiterate in the same sense that preparedness before a procedure is something that we should always emphasize on. You cannot show up late. You have to be there on time. Make sure that you're well prepared for the job that you're supposed to do that day. Preparedness gives you an edge over overcoming the problems that you might face that day. Every surgery, every patient is a new one and might teach you a new lesson.
Correct.
So being prepared for this, reading up if there is something new, making sure that the instruments, equipment around you is the way it should be, sterilized, clean, absolutely unused wherever it is disposable, and make sure that the staff present over there is also aware of what is going on. So just showing up in a hurry somewhere affects the quality of your work, and overall it will affect the quality of the patient care that you deliver.
Correct.
So as surgeons, we must definitely be aware of that fact and make sure that that is mitigated to the maximum that we can.
And one more thing, build your team. Teamwork is always better, so that it is like I will do this part of the work and the other team member does the other part of the work. So teamwork, I mean, it is very, very important. So you should have your team.
Absolutely. So, what are the top 3 things that you would, that young women in dentistry should focus on right now?
Upgrade, upskill and be resilient.
Yes. Be consistent. Okay. Consistency means a lot.
Correct.
And
I think
for
you
the
should
younger
also
generation, I would
yes,
say
yes.
punctuality.
Yeah.
Absolutely matters. You cannot be casual about it. If you have given an appointment at 11 o'clock, I understand there may be some emergencies, but ensure that there is good, effective communication.
Correct.
Because in this present scenario where suing is as common as anything else,
Yeah.
your commitment, your record keeping, your punctuality and communication skills, it is the soft skills which matter as much as your technical skills. So work on upgrading those soft skills as well. Your technical skills will definitely improve along the way.
And for younger doctors, if you want me to convey the message, your patient gives you a diagnosis if you just listen to them.
Learn to
Okay.
listen,
So learn to listen. Learn to listen patiently, because your patient, when they talk to you, right, they will give you the diagnosis. You just have to pick it up. Second thing, when you are writing down any case history or examination, you should be very rational in putting out what investigation you want. So just don't jump the gun to MRI, CT scan, this or that. Is your investigation changing your treatment plan? Yes, then go for it. If it is not, then I would say
Unnecessary.
be wise enough to choose that. And second thing, casual attitude. Younger generation I'm seeing, they have a very casual attitude. It's okay, it goes on. So that attitude, a little bit change is required
Needs
there.
to be tamed, yes,
Yeah.
especially
I
when you're in
think
the
one
learning
more thing
curve.
we should add here is you should know when to stop. Learn what not to do.
Do.
I'm sure you as a surgeon
very
would
important
have.
No, as younger surgeon, we are very enthusiastic. We will do this, we will do that, we'll do that. After 10 years, the surgeons, they understand what the complications are.
Correct.
And I think when we enter the last third decade of our practice as a surgeon, we deal with our own complications.
Exactly.
Okay? So that's how the
That
growth
is very
happens.
important.
Yeah.
What not to do.
What not to do is the most important.
Okay. Let us now dive to, some fun questions.
Okay.
Lot of jnaan ho gaya ab, huh? So, who's the woman you admire the most and why?
For me, it would be a plastic surgeon. She's no more, Dr. Jyotsna Murthy, who was probably one of the pioneers in getting cleft and craniofacial care into India.
Okay.
And she had the guts and the gumption. I really admire her for it. She was a plastic surgeon working at Sri Ramchandra Medical College in Chennai, who spearheaded the way the entire country saw her and the world saw India for that matter, where it was only her name on the world stage for quite a few years and still continues to be. So at some point I would aspire to be something like her.
Very nice. See, Dr. Vinay.
I get inspiration a lot from Kiran Bedi. Okay, she had been an IPS officer, and the way she has managed things, it was like seedhi baat, no bakwas.
No bakwas.
And she was like, don't beat around the bush. Show me the solution. Let's not talk about the problem alone. Find out the solution for it, and how will you get the solution for
Well,
it?
for the matter of fact, I think we can call her the Kiran Bedi of
Maxillofacial surgery in Telangana, I would say.
So that CD bath, no bakwas is always there with her.
She was among the first to, I would say, break the glass ceiling for women maxillofacial surgeons in Telangana.
Correct.
I was the fourth or fifth one probably in the whole undivided state that time.
A book or podcast that has inspired you? Are you currently reading any book?
Yeah, I read a lot, and the latest book which I'm reading is The Power of Your Subconscious Mind, and I'm
Wonderful.
really in awe of that book. That book really changes your perspective, that how you can manifest things
Yes.
and how they come to you. So I really I'm really happy with that book.
Dr.
Yeah,
Gayatri,
I'm a book lover too. So give me a corner, a beanbag and a book and I think I can disappear in it. So inspirational for me was Michelle Obama's autobiography.
Correct.
And the way she rose from poverty and came up to a position of being the wife of one of the most influential persons in the world,
Correct.
but in her own right, an equally good advocate is something that many young people can learn. How to get above your circumstances, rise and come up to a position where your word matters.
One mantra or quote that keeps you going? Filtered version, not the unfiltered.
No. My mantra was she knows who she was. That keeps me going.
Wonderful.
And she knows what she is. That's all.
I would say chance always favors who is the prepared one.
Very nice. Makes sense. One thing you wish you knew earlier in your career?
Learn to say no.
That you're still learning, ma'am.
That is one thing. And second thing, as Gayatri has already mentioned, so we should always be open to healthy criticism.
Correct.
And we should always be open to, okay, fine, I don't know this, please teach me. Learn to ask help. Never hesitate for that. And second thing, please ask questions. No question is stupid. So if you ask questions, you ask your queries, you get a lot of information from that.
I think I had never learned to value my contributions in work, which I started appreciating better in the last couple of years. So I used to think of my work as being one of the smallest ones, which actually is insignificant. But over a couple of years, once our work skill has improved and our output has improved in terms of patient care, we realized that we are an important part of the entire wheel of a team, and we should learn to appreciate ourselves also sometimes.
We are taught to underplay, no?
Yeah.
As women,
As women, yes. So one last question for you both. What are you guys currently working on?
Obstructive sleep apnea.
we've been having and trying to build a team since the last 13 years, and there are about 8 of us in dental colleagues who formed a team called as Somnio Sleep.
Okay.
And we are soon starting off a sleep clinic which deals with the dental aspect of obstructive sleep apnea, or in layman terms maybe snoring.
Snoring.
So
Yeah.
there is a lot to the medical part of it, but the dental management is something that was ignored till now, but now has started taking the stage, and there are a lot of things which we can do to improve the lifestyle and quality of life for all these patients who suffer from these issues. So that is our pet project currently,
Yeah.
and we are working on it since the last 8 years. But as a brand and trying to build it up, we've started it only now, and we hope to take it further in the next couple of years.
You will soon see Somnio Sleep Clinic also.
Wonderful. I wish you all the best for all your future endeavors.
Thank you, Mansa.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining us today, and I'm sure a lot of people have learnt a lot they have a lot of takeaways from this podcast.
It was our pleasure
It was
talking
our
to you.
pleasure. It was really a very pleasurable moment to have shared so much of things with you. Thank you.
so much. Thank you.
And thanks for making us so comfortable.
Yeah.